Good morning, Bande Matram. Welcome all of you. This topic we are taking from thoughts and aphorisms. The beautiful line from Sri Aurobindo's writings. God is infinity possibility. So on that we are going to try a little bit on God as described, viewed, and explained by Sri Aurobindo. Of course, it is in terms of aphorisms. Let us take from the topic which we started right now. Sri Aurobindo quotes in number 7-9. God is infinity possibility. Therefore, truth is never at rest. Infinity possibility. It is actually every day it keeps moving forward, moving outward, moving faster. Therefore, also error is justified of our children. Just imagine how that beautiful, glorious definition. God is infinity possibility. You can't content it. You can't narrow it. You can't limit it. Infinity possibility. Therefore, truth is never at rest. It is always expanding. So, therefore, also error is justified of our children. And again, we are going for the next description. Actually, it is a series of description aphorisms from Sri Aurobindo on God. Sharing the quotes here beautifully. I had a fool discussing utter folly and wondered what God meant by it. I heard here in the quotes. I heard a fool discussing utter folly and wondered what God meant by it. Then I considered and saw a distorted mask of truth and wisdom. From that conclusion, Sri Aurobindo concludes that then I considered, not only considered and saw a distorted mask of truth and wisdom because a fool discussing utter folly and wondered what God meant by it. Again, God is great. Naturally, we know everybody, God is great. Everything, almost all the times we utter the same sentence, God is great. To see great by the Mohammedan. It is said by the Mohammedans, God is great. Yes, He is so great that He can afford to be weak whenever that too is necessary. Gadhapada Dharana, that is what we know. Sri Krishna came under the feet of the us. So we know Gadhapada. So like this, God is great, says Mohammedan. Yes, He is so great that He can afford to be weak. Even if he is great, he afford to be weak. That is his greatness. Whenever it is this too, that too is necessary. Again, God often fails in his workings. It is also deliberate, intentional, willful. God also fails in his workings. It is the sign of his illimitable Godhead. Fails before they are too weak, afford to be weak whenever it is necessary. Here, Sri Aurobindo quotes the God often fails in his workings. It is the sign of his illimitable Godhead. That is what the sign, great sign, because God is invincibly great. All the same thing, same way we are taking it forward, we are discussing forward. God, because God is invincibly great, He can afford to be weak. Same equivalent sentence we can find. Invincibly great, so He can afford to be weak because He is immutably pure. There we saw that is too necessary when it is afford to be weak when it is necessary. And Sri Aurobindo clarifies again here, because he is immutably pure, he can indulge with impunity in sin. He knows eternally all delight, therefore he tastes also the delight of a pain. Because that is his greatness, he is capable of, he knows, he feels, he experiences. He takes also the delight by pain. He is inalienably wise, therefore he is not devoured himself from folly. So interrelated, you can find God, the light among the truth, among the falsehood, among the darkness. God the wise among the foolishness. So you can find wise among the folly. You can find delight in the text delight in the text delight taste also the delight of pain. Immutably wise, so he has debarred himself from folly. That is his greatness really great, and his greatness is invincibly great, Sri Aurobindo quotes. Afford to be weak because he is immutably pure. He can indulge with the impunity of in sin because he knows eternally all delight. Therefore, he tastes also the delight of pain. That is ordinarily in the ordinary situation for the ordinary beings, it is not possible because he is God. Sin is the sin. Most of the time, sin is that which was once in its place. Sin देखिए just pop sin is that which was once in its place, persisting now it is out of place. Originally it was in its place, now it is in its place it was originally, now out of place. There is no other sinfulness. So sin is that which was once in its place, very clear. Persisting now in its out of place, there is no other sinfulness. Again, there is no sin in man. Sri Aurobindo clarifies, there is no sin in man but a great deal of disease, ignorance and misapplication. There is no sin in man but a great deal of disease, ignorance and misapplication. That's what we must take and consider what really this sin is. So most of the time we keep comparing sin and virtue like this, but the thing is, as here when the course clarifies, tries to explain in a very strong manner. And there is no sin in man, but a great deal of disease, ignorance, and misapplication. Again, the sense of sin. Again, the sense of sin is necessary in order that the man might become disgusted with his own imperfections. It is necessary because normally men move with their imperfections. If the sense of sin was necessary in order that man might become disgusted with his own imperfections, it was God's corrective for egoism. You just remember. It is God's corrective for egoism, but man's egoism meets God's device by being very dully alive to the own sins and very keenly alive to the sins of others. It is there for the preparation, better preparation of the people towards the upliftment. But the thing is that people are mostly staying in their own sin and the sin of others. They don't know what really this sin is. Actually, as here in the course, it has to be, unless otherwise they are disgusted with their own imperfections, they will never come forward in the way of virtue. So it was necessary. But it is God's corrective for egoism, but man's egoism meets God's device by being very dully alive to its own sins and also very keenly alive to the sins of others. They don't feel the really where the really what is the track, what is the choice, what is the mission. They have already everything, it is forgotten, they don't mind, so thing is going as usual in a very traditional way. Again, sin and virtue, against during the course, sin and virtue are the game of resistance. Sin or virtue are the game of resistance we play with God. Sin and virtue are a game of resistance. Game of resistance we play with God in His effort to draw us towards perfection. He is there pulling us towards perfection. Really, in by nature, we have come for perfection, distorted here, and we have gained imperfection. So here in the course, game of resistance, sin and virtue both. We play with God in His effort to draw us towards perfection. The sense of virtue helps us to cherish our sins in secret. Sense of virtue, very interesting line that must be quoted. It is a very declarative sentence from Sri Aurobindo. The sense of virtue helps us to cherish our sins in secret. We don't know. We are unaware rather. Examine thyself without pity. Very interesting. Examine thyself without pity. Then thou wilt be more charitable and pitiful to others. Unless otherwise, he who already we know here in those quotations, he who lives for himself lives bare and calm. It is for himself. But on the contrary, He who lives for others, who he would save the suffering world, must share its pain. So for that, actually, there is a great deal of preparation is necessary, and a great deal of awareness is also required for us. Examine thyself without pity. If some pity will be there in getting intermixed in you, and you don't try to know, of course, identify, and of course it is differentiate to keep it throw it out, it is very difficult. Examine thyself without pity, then you will be more charitable and pitiful to others. Unless otherwise you recognize yourself, you know thyself, you are not that much cruel. Pitilessly you are not examining in yourself, very difficult to find to be charitable and pitiful to others. So a thought is an arrow shot at the truth. You can just imagine, a thought is an arrow shot at the truth. It can hit a point but not cover the whole target. When we are putting, and of course trying and shooting an arrow, it is just hitting a particular point, not the whole surrounding whole target. But the Arcas is too well satisfied with his success to ask anything further, because it has a hit. So it is egoistic, it is satisfied. And mother course, when somebody feels satisfied, the next step is that he is proceeding towards the grave. When somebody stops aspiring, he begins to die. The next one is number 72. We are going here. The sign of dawning knowledge. How can we feel? We claim that we are knowledgeable, we are learned, we are brilliant, we are wise. So many ways we claim because of this. After reading or taking forward these written books, theories of the decade long or age long or century long poems or something like theories. The sign of dawning knowledge is to feel that yet I know little or nothing. That is a great thing Sri Aurobindo tries to quote here. The sign of dawning knowledge. How shall I know that I am knowledge is dawning in me? I am going in that way. How can I know? The sign of dawning knowledge is to feel that yet I know little or nothing, and yet if I could only know my knowledge, I already possess everything. Initially, sign of dawning knowledge, I know nothing. Then next step, and little or nothing, and or yet, if I could only know my knowledge, that knowledge, if I could be able to know, I already possess everything. Because all the way before learning, you feel I am empty slate. Then everything will be put down from above, and once you possess this, know this learning, then you possess everything. When after knowledge comes the wisdom. When wisdom comes, her first lesson is, when shall I know that wisdom has learned? Because you know knowledge reason many ways we have discussed. When wisdom comes, the first lesson is there is no such thing as knowledge. There is only uppercase of the infinity deity. So knowledge departs, it actually dissects, it actually limits us. But thing is that the first lesson is there is no such thing as knowledge. No such thing as knowledge. There are only uppercase of infinity deity. That's what. And you know, we are in the process of moving forward in the path of integral yoga. The beginning, end, middle, everything is is centered around the divine. Things, everything is centering, divine is the center. Practical knowledge, again, practical knowledge is different thing. Here in the course, practical knowledge is different thing, that is real and serviceable, but it is never complete. Thing is that suppose you have known how to prepare food, that is that you have got practical knowledge, it is somehow better, in many ways better than the theoretical knowledge. Do this that anyway you will be unfed at the end. But practical knowledge is a real and serviceable but never complete. Therefore, to systemize and codify it is necessary but fatal. Therefore, to systematize and codify it is necessary to gain the practical knowledge, but the fatal thing is that you must know everything, and at every moment, on every chance, you try to better it. That already I have quoted. When you feel satisfied, that chapter is closed. Systemize, that just now we heard the line, systematize we must, but even in making and holding the system, we should always keep firm hold on this truth that all systems are in their nature transitory and incomplete. Systematize, bring into the system, try to put in the system, that you just systematize it, that we must, that is necessary, there is no other go. But the thing is, we even in making and holding the system, we should always keep firm hold on this truth. We must keep firm hold on things that all systems are in their nature transitory and incomplete. That when the system is transitory and incomplete, when we are going for to systematize it, just imagine, is it perfect at all? Is it reaching the glowing most arc? So lot of things are necessary. It is required, but not incomplete and transitory. Then there is a beautiful comparison on East and West here in the course. Europe prides herself on her practical and scientific organization and efficiency. Europe is boosting up. They have gone large ahead of the East, but actually now scenario is changing. East we can find now it is not actually lagging far behind. See, just simply one virus, coronavirus, it has actually dejected the world. It has brought the world progress into many deep pitfalls. Almost the world is actually growing, marching forward towards the abyss, towards the utter failure. So anyway, I am waiting till the organization is perfect, then a child should destroy her. So just imagine Europe prides herself on her practical and scientific organization and efficiency. They post up, they have the pride, practical and scientific organization and efficiency. But I am waiting till her organization is perfect, yet to be perfected, not yet perfect. But they have gone so far, they have gone a little far ahead of comparing these Easterners, but things are beyond perfection. It is not yet below perfection. Then a child shall destroy her. Like you can go example that COVID, it is actually destroying the world. Genius discovers a system. A beautiful comparison. Genius, somebody genius, somebody you take the talent, so ordinary human being, just average human talent, so many ways you differentiate the IQ. So genius discovers the system, average talent, stereotype it till it is shattered by fresh genius. Genius discover a system. They do a great thing. Discover a system. Discover means it is there, just they are discovering, finding it out. Average talent stereotypes it till it is shattered by fresh genius. It is dangerous for an army to be led by veterans. It is dangerous for the army to be led by veterans, for on the other side, God may place on Napoleon. So ordinary stereotyped life will never be useful, helpful, or needful, because veterans, dangerous for an army to be led by veterans. So Napoleon was a necessary, the hidden talent. It was there, for on the other side God may place a Napoleon on that side. Then when knowledge is fresh in us, then it is invincible. This knowledge we know, when it is fresh in us, it is invincible. When it is old, it loses virtue. You can, from your experience, you can recall. When knowledge is fresh in us, it is invincible, and when it is old, it loses virtue. This is because God moves always forward. You can know that this is the limit. Sky is no limit. Every time, attempt you try to move forward, there is no limit. You can go, you can move forward. God is infinite possibility. Just now we quoted, and this caption was like this. This was the caption. God is infinity possible, therefore truth is never at rest. Go forward, march forward. Charaibati, go. Therefore also error is justified for children. And towards the end we can find to listen to some devout people. To listen to some devout people, one must would imagine that God never laughs. Hene was nearer the mark when he found in him the divine Aristophanes. To listen to some devout people, one would imagine that God never laughs. Hen is nearer the mark when he found in him the divine Aristophanes. So just imagine there is infinity truth behind, and the devout people and all. You just think, you just have the guidance, but thing is that truth is still hiding. Truth only is only the truth is seen. Truth is known when all is seen. So then truth. Love of God is truth. Love of truth is divine. So again, God's laughter is sometimes very coarse and unfit for the polite ears. Sometimes we can find God's laughter is sometimes very coarse and unfit for the polite ears. He is not satisfied with being mollier. He must need also the Aristophanes and rebellious. So that is also required, and those things are very much important. 82 you can find if men took life less seriously, because normally people take seriously. If men took life less seriously, they would be very soon make it more perfect. That tension, that confusion, that clumsiness is not required. If men take life less seriously, they could be soon very soon make it more perfect. God never takes his work seriously. That is not required. Why? Because it is God's work. You are God's. God has sent you. You are appointed by the God. The work is God's. Everything is being guidance, finishing, everything is by done. Then why seriously? Therefore, one looks at out on this wonderful universe. Every day he keeps changing, he keeps modifying. So he never takes his work seriously. Therefore, one looks out on this wonderful universe. Be simple, be humble, be polite, and of course you carry forward. Same has admirable result, Lajja. Same has admirable results, and both in ascetics and in morality, we could ill spare it. But for all that is a badge of weakness and a proof of ignorance. It is normally seen, normally it is found. I will try to quote it again. Same is an admirable result, and both in ascetics and in morality we could ill spare it. Both ascetics and aesthetics and in morality we could ill spare it, but for all that it is a badge of weakness and a proof of ignorance. Number 84. The supernatural is that. What is that supernatural? We quote again. Supernatural is that the nature of which we have not attained and don't yet know, and the means of which we have not yet conquered. Supernatural. Three points here in the quote here. And we have not attained, again we not yet know. Third, the means of which we have not yet conquered. The common test of miracles is the sign that the man's ascent is not finished. Sign of miracle. He is supposed to be the miracles, and the infinity miracles should emerge out of it. But thing is that he is running madly after the miraculous man who is doing the miracles. Finally, we can find a beautiful thing that is necessary for our concluding remarks. It is rationality and prudence to distrust the supernatural. Rationality and prudence, that is a big thing. Two things are given. Rationality and prudence to distrust the supernatural, but to believe in it, it is also sort of wisdom. Supernatural, we think, we go, we analyze in our mentality, our sentiments. Think is that It is rationality and prudence to distrust the rationality and prudence both to distrust the supernaturals, but to believe it, distrust is okay, but to believe it, it is also sort of wisdom. But thing is that you have to be very much vigilant in that aspect. You have to be more, you must have the common awareness. Again, it is a beautiful topic, and we can go for the last. Great saints have performed miracles. Greater saints have railed on at them. The greatest have both railed on them and performed them. This is the great saying from Sri Aurobindo. Great saints have performed miracles. Greater saints, they have railed at it, and the greatest, superlative degree, greatest who have both railed at them and, of course, performed them beautifully. So, this is the great topic, and of course, I think we must go into it in a very needful way, very aware with the sense of awareness. Thank you. Vande Mataram.